Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm a dietetic intern recording on behalf of Melissa Manning, registered dietitian. Today's training will discuss breakfast meal pattern for SFSP, emergency feeding during school closures. For the objectives, by the end of the training, you will be able to understand SFSP breakfast meal pattern requirements during a state of emergency. You'll be able to identify food items that can be incorporated into these breakfast meal patterns. And finally, once we've gone over that, we will practice identifying a compliant breakfast meal for emergency feeding during these school closures. Before we begin, we want to note that this menu is serve all and is not for implementing offer versus serve, so please keep that in mind. Luckily, a complete reimbursable SFSP breakfast meal is as easy as 1, 2, 3, meaning that there's just 3 things that we need to check for. The first is a grain, 1 ounce equivalent must be served, a fruit or a vegetable, half cup, and then milk, 8 fluid ounces. Looking more closely now at those 3 steps, step 1 is to make sure that you are serving component 1, a grain. This grain must be whole grain or enriched and be 1 ounce equivalent. Here on the slide, we provide some examples just for ideas. We see things like those crackers, your typical grains like the bread, bagel, cereal, granola bars, muffin, English muffin, pancake, hot cereal like oatmeal, and then a donut. Step 2 is to check for component 2, a fruit or a vegetable. Half cup of fresh, frozen, canned, or dried fruit will work. 4 fluid ounces of 100% fruit and or vegetable juice would suffice here too. Important to note that when we're doing emergency feeding for dried fruit and raisins, this is counting for its actual volume. So for example, 1.1 to 1.3 ounce of a dried fruit package is actually only going to qualify for 1/4 cup. So definitely want to keep that in mind with these meals. Our third and final easy step is that third component of milk. So you're only required to serve 1 type, and here on the slide you see lots of different types listed as options. And any sort of milk substitute must meet the minimum nutrient standards, of course. For any reason, if you're not able to obtain fluid milk due to an emergency, contact the CDE school nutrition programs by email. We provided the email here for you for your convenience, so that you're able to request a waiver from them. So we just went over those 3 easy steps to make sure that you're having a compliant breakfast. We do want to provide some information about extra food though. So if you want to provide extra food like meat or protein or water, this may be served and is absolutely okay, but keep in mind that it is not counted towards those requirements. You still need to have those first 3 components that we just went over. Now it's time to test your knowledge and see how this training is going for you. So here on the slide, we have an example of a breakfast. You can see that there is an egg and then an orange and hot cereal. So is this a compliant breakfast? The answer is no, because remember it's missing the third component of milk. So we do see that they were offering an extra food item, the meat or meat alternate with the egg. But remember, you cannot count this towards the actual components of the meal. So they still needed to provide a milk if they were going to be doing this, and then it would be compliant. Okay, so moving on to example 2, we see that there's a milk here, English muffin, and a banana. So is this a compliant breakfast? Yes. Remember, it's containing a grain, a fruit, and a milk, which looking back, those were our 3 easy steps to make sure that we're serving a compliant, reimbursable breakfast. So this one would be A-OK and passes. Thank you for your participation with this training brought to you by My School RD.